Guys, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from Slaughterhouse Sports and our family here to you and yours. It is December 21st edition of the show. Christmas time is about 3 days away, and a great time of the year for everybody. So I want everybody to go out there and enjoy it. Should be maybe even making a couple of more videos. Not sure about the schedule. But really some breaking news, and this happened late last night, actually, after signing day concluded. And this was Chubba Purdy entering the transfer portal. Now, I did listen to Matt Rhule's press conference, and I listened to about 20 minutes of the press conference. And unsurprisingly, a lot of the questions about Matt Rhule and a lot of the questions at that press conference were about the quarterbacks that were going to the University of Nebraska. It was about Dylan Raiola. It was about Daniel Kalen. It was also about it was just about the whole process. And then you looked at Kyle McCord, and they said, like, theoretically, since they can't even announce this stuff, they're like, theoretically, you guys seem to host a couple of transfer quarterbacks. You know what Matt Rhule said yesterday? Matt Rhule was like, you know what? I decided that instead of getting a one-year quarterback, that we're just going to mentor our quarterbacks on the roster. And I'm really excited about the quarterbacks in the room. I'm excited about growing the position from the ground up. And I really like the two quarterbacks who stayed in Heinrich Haarberg and Chubba Purdy. He said that Chubba was a guy that made a lot of improvement throughout the season, been here a couple of years, has been playing college football for a while, was accurate at the end of the year, and that when healthy was somebody that could be a very viable option at quarterback. So according to Matt Rhule, they weren't interested in senior quarterbacks because they had, wait for it, Chubba Purdy. He said, I can't wait to continue to develop these quarterbacks in the room. I'm not going to go out there and recruit against my own roster. That's what Matt Rhule said. So I kind of say this, a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, because in college football, guys, if you're a college football coach, you have to expect the unknown to happen. You have to plan for the unknown to happen. You have to always be planning, all right? Like, you can't pigeonhole yourself in something that always changes. All right? It's like in golf. I'll use an analogy. It's like, I'm going to go and tee up this golf ball. All right? Well, the wind's blowing right to left, so I'm going to aim more right. But then 10 seconds later, the wind now actually is blowing the opposite direction. And then 5 seconds later, okay, it's perfect. You could aim straight. It's just like a road, in your town that's always getting construction. Is the construction over, or is it complete? You always have to be adapting. There is no standing pat. You can't follow the manual that you followed 10 years ago. And for Matt Rhule, here's the thing about Rhule is that I love 95% of what he says is amazing. How he thanked the former players yesterday, how he thanks Tom Osborne. He runs a first-class ship in a first-class organization. But about Kyle McCord, it's all right to sometimes not divulge absolutely everything. So with Kyle McCord, when that kind of question came up, he could have said, hey, we're exploring all options. We want to be able to grow young quarterbacks, for our team. But if there's somebody that's going to be there that can help out our team, then we'll take a look at that. Instead of saying, we opted to not go for a senior quarterback because we have two quarterbacks on the roster, and then now Chubba Purdy ends up leaving, it makes you seem like you have egg on your face. All right? And here's the thing, too. Not every quarterback who transfers out of a situation, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison. So a lot of people commented, Kyle McCord is afraid of competition. Kyle McCord doesn't like competition. He was too afraid to compete at Nebraska with a Dylan Raiola. Here's the thing about Kyle McCord is that he wants to play. all he's been doing has been competing and losing at Ohio State to guys like C.J. Stroud, you know, and then I don't know if he was there for Fields, but all he's been doing is competing and losing. And then for the last couple of years of college, he wants to go somewhere where, hey, I know that I'm going to be treated like the guy, and I have a high chance of starting. I have a high likelihood of starting. And Kyle McCord transferred once, so let's compare Kyle McCord to Chubba Purdy. Kyle McCord stayed at Ohio State. Kyle McCord won the job and played at Ohio State. Then Kyle McCord had one transfer, and now he wants to go somewhere where he can play. Chubba Purdy went to Florida State. Okay, was competing there, okay, got hurt a couple of years, okay. In comes Jordan Travis, okay, he's going to be the guy. He's better. All right, I'm competing and I'm losing. So you know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to Lincoln, okay? I have a great relationship with Mark Whipple. That's what I'm going to do. So then Whipple happens and the coaching change happens, and then guess what ends up transpiring? He ends up getting healthy towards the end of the year. He actually starts some games. And guess what? If you were to put a favorite on who would be starting at quarterback next year, Chubba Purdy would also be that guy that could start a quarterback. It's different than Kyle McCord because Kyle McCord, this isn't his third school. This is now going to be Chubba's second time transferring. Chubba Purdy was in a position where he was going to start. Most likely. When you take the first rep of spring practice, you are the most experienced player on that team, and you are one of the only quarterbacks, you and Heinrich Haarberg, that have taken snaps. And guess what? You're older than Haarberg, and you're more accurate than Heinrich Haarberg was, okay? Heinrich Haarberg has a bigger arm, maybe some more physical tools in some areas than you, but you also have more physical tools than Heinrich in the term of your throwing motion is better and you're more accurate. So now, okay, Matt Rhule didn't need to say that they weren't interested in a transfer quarterback. He just could have said, hey, we explore all options. It ends up that we're excited about the quarterbacks in the room. And for all the parties involved, you know, this is going to be our quarterback room now. Instead of saying, we didn't want a senior quarterback, we wouldn't have done that. Now it makes you seem real, you know, egg on your face, because now guess what? your veteran experienced quarterback happens to be the most risk-taking, you know, kind of boomer bust, like kind of inaccurate quarterback that you ever want to have in Heinrich Haarberg. Like, I love Haarberg. He's from Kearney, Nebraska. He's a local kid. I was rooting for him. But unfortunately, when he was asked to throw it down the field, he would sometimes throw it to the wrong places, put it that way. And he would sometimes fumble the football. And like Chubba Purdy, to me, Chubba looked better in the short and intermediate games. So it wasn't like Chubba's perfect, but you at least had Chubba, and if emergency happened, then Heinrich. But now, like if you were going to pick between who's a more prototypical quarterback to sit under, Chubba Purdy or Heinrich Haarberg, a guy in Heinrich Haarberg who, let's just say it how it is, Heinrich Haarberg was in the tight end room. Heinrich Haarberg was lining up as a fullback when the season started this year. He wasn't even in the quarterback room at the Frost era. Now that's your experienced quarterback now. So this whole plan that you put into place, I go back to the golf analogy. The whole plan that you put into place of, we have Chubba and Heinrich, okay? Those guys have been in our system for a year. And those guys are going to kind of show Dylan and Daniel how it's like to be a Nebraska quarterback. And we're not going to rush Dylan and Daniel into this. Well, guess what? Those quarterbacks are leaving. Jeff is leaving. Chubba's leaving. There's nobody left but the kids that you just signed. So you should have then looked to sign a senior quarterback. Even if it wasn't Kyle McCord, like get the kid out of Toledo. You know, go pay like a $300K for KJ Jefferson to play like 6 games, you know, or something. Now you need competition. So now go get a senior quarterback. Because now Chubba left. So now your plan, you shouldn't even have a plan. And that's the thing. Is like he's so transparent that other coaches wouldn't even tell you about their plan because there really isn't a plan like anywhere. Maybe other than Clemson where they're never going to get a transfer player. But the whole sport the entire sport of college football right now, and it's exciting to talk about from a media standpoint, but the entire sport is incredibly unpredictable. A kid can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and decommit from your program. That's why it's your job as a coach to get the kids to commit. I think it is worse. I will give Rhule credit here because it sounds like I'm very anti-Rhule in this video, which I'm not. It's just at the press conference there, I'm just explaining the absurdities, and it's a little frustrating that you're more experienced quarterbacks now have to depart your program. That is really unfortunate for Nebraska. It's unfortunate for everyone, even these younger quarterbacks. It's unfortunate for everybody that Purdy is leaving. But the thing I will say about Matt Rhule is that this group at Nebraska, for the most part, hasn't entered the portal. And quarterbacks, there's only one that could play, so Jeff and Chubba decided to move on. With Jeff, it didn't work out. It wasn't the best situation. The results weren't panning out, and he was a third-string quarterback. But with Chubba, he looked better at the end of the year than Heinrich Haarberg. He was slated to kind of be your starter or to be a quarterback that was your veteran quarterback that was probably going to play this year or get a great chance to play, especially with how Matt Rhule likes development, and he doesn't want to throw somebody in before they are ready. That's not his style. All right, so just kind of a wild circumstance that ended up, happening with the, we could say with the University of Nebraska is Purdy now deciding to bounce and maybe go to like Boise State or something. So again, the carousel's not done turning, and it's an ever-ending or it's an endless process recruiting. The building relationships is fun, as coaches will say, but the worrying and the constant roster turnover, there is no organization in terms of the calendar, so nobody knows when people are entering and leaving at any time in this process. So it's unfortunate. Again, I'm happy to get Raiola and Daniel Kalen from a Nebraska point of view. And it's possible that Dylan, could start. And there was a world in which it's possible that Dylan would have been the quarterback that started off the year. It's just that I thought that Chubba's in second spot. Listen, he goes to Boise or something. He might get even, again, he's not going to hear the rumblings of, who's going to start a quarterback behind him. I guess it is frustrating from a Nebraska point of view that you just have really not a ton of options. But it also is just kind of like Matt Rhule yesterday was saying this is going to happen, and then it didn't end up happening. But overall, let's give credit to Rhule. Like, it was a very good class. All right, excellent. He closed on Miami kids. Like, he closed on 3 Miami kids. Raiola's recruitment was handled great. Landed Carter Nelson, the number 1 player in Nebraska, got some real local talent at Nebraska, really establishing a relationship with the Omaha area, which is what no Nebraska coach has done, since Frank Solich. So it's been like 2 decades since Nebraska football has actually gone into Omaha and actually had a good relationship in Omaha. It's been one of the most peculiar things is how in the past 2 decades, how UNL is just had a terrible reputation in Omaha, and Matt Rhule is severing those ties. So Matt Rhule is doing almost everything great. He couldn't have controlled this Chubba Purdy situation. Chubba's going to go find somewhere to play. He's a student athlete. I'm not going to jump on a student athlete. It's just it would have helped out for Nebraska's sake if he were to be still competing in this room. And I think that if you can't just have, I say this for a lot of coaches and being an analyst of college football, right now in this year, 2023, 2024, you can't just say, unless you're Georgia or Alabama and you're already at the top of the top, you can't just say, I'm going to go 90% high school, 10% portal. I'm this way. I'm not breaking that standard because you never know the attrition that's going to take place. You don't know what's around the corner. It's an ever-changing landscape, ever-changing. And this just proves it. Alrighty, guys, what do you guys think about Purdy? It went on a little bit longer, maybe than I anticipated, but it's an interesting topic about Chubba Purdy and about the life of trying to build a football program. The quarterback carousel continues to spin, and Nebraska continues to deal with that carousel. Thank you guys for watching.